Well, hello, my little earthlings. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the importance of taking notes for your story. I would like to start off by saying hello. It is 2022. I have not done very many videos last year. It has been a while. I have missed it so much. I love dropping videos on this channel, but I do work quite a few other day jobs, and I'm also a musician. Sombermercy, you can check out my second channel listed on here, so if you want to see some of my music, you can look at that. But yeah, I've had a really crazy busy year last year, and I've just been stockpiling all of my really good ideas, and I've been continuing to work on ET Girl during all of this. So another fun announcement is I just got done with ET Girl Volume 3. I'm super stoked about this. I managed to get it dropped around Christmas, so it's up on Amazon for sale right now. You can get all kinds of uncensored content, bonus art. There's an interview with the author in the back, and there's also a preview for the next volume plus Dark Tales of Lolita. So feel free to check that out if you are interested. I have ET Girl volumes 1 through 3, all of them now on Amazon, plus Dark Tales of Lolita. If you like this content, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out, and it also helps get this content out to other people that are also interested in building their own stories or making their own webcomics. So yeah. Getting into today's video, we're going to be talking about note taking and the importance of it. So why is it important to take notes for your story? I'm actually going to ask a different question, and I want to reframe why note taking, or more so how to interpret or look at note taking when you're doing it. So when we're doing things like chasing inspiration and creativity, you're kind of like a hunter, like you're out in the wild and you're doing your normal things every day to get by, and you're taking care of yourself, you're eating, you're sleeping, you're drinking water, and when inspiration comes around, it's like that unique wild animal that you've been hunting for a while, and you want to make sure that you are in a good position to be able to catch it. Or similarly, like if you are waiting to get a fish out of the river and you got to find the perfect moment to strike. So yeah, you kind of always want to think of your story and the things you're doing for it, the information you're gathering, as these little golden nuggets, these little fish that are swimming around, and you want to make sure that you're prepped and ready to be able to strike, that you have all the right tools under your belt to be able to strike and grab that stuff so it doesn't slip by you. Because something I've definitely noticed is that the best ideas for stories that come about always happen when it's the least convenient to be able to write it down. So that'll be something like, I'm driving along in my car, and then I'm literally getting visions of what I want to be working on for my next story. I'm literally seeing entire plot lines unfold in front of me. I'll have a song that comes on that just absolutely inspires me. It makes me feel like I want to pull the car over right then and there and just start working on stuff like a madman. Like I want to write down all the notes, make sure I don't forget it. And it's important to also tell your mind when you have things happen like that at completely inopportune times. It's important to kind of be calm and patient with things like that, and remind yourself that you will remember it and you will be able to write this down, and to kind of bookmark it and tell yourself, thank you for the idea. I'm going to be writing that down first thing when I'm able to stop driving my car, or the minute I park, I'm going to do a voice note or something like that. Because if you kind of look at it as like you get angry at yourself and you go, damn, why'd you have to come to me right now? I don't want to forget this. And then your mind drifts off to something else. You are more likely to forget it, is something I've realized. So this was actually a recommendation I got from listening to Elizabeth Gilbert, where she said it's kind of like the idea of like, she'd mentioned in a TED Talk about one of her favorite writers talking about catching a poem by the tail and then pulling it in backwards. And creativity is very similarly linked to, in my opinion, into the cultivation of love. It's something that requires active participation, and we have to kind of show up for it. And then in turn, creativity will keep giving us more ideas, right? So it's a sort of a unique relationship that you're kind of holding with this to keep everything in balance. So So what I'm going to give you guys today is some tools and recommendations on things to have ready in your armory to be prepared for when inspiration comes running by and you want to make sure that you can either tell it, hold on, I'm coming for you, and I'm going to get my things ready, or so you can grab it right then and there. So you don't have to worry about, oh, damn, I missed it. It came and it went. And I will say the more often that you do this and practice it, where maybe you have these things come up and they're at inopportune times, the more often you practice the art of kind of telling it thank you and I'll write it down first thing, and then making sure you follow up on that, that action is really strong, and your brain will actually be lenient enough to like save that information for you, and it'll come up for you later. I actually have another video I did on this on my other channel where I talked about why you don't trust yourself, and this kind of links into that. So yeah, I recommend checking that one out if you are interested. So we're going to start off with some tools that can help taking notes become a lot easier for you. It all depends on your personal schedule. If you're the kind of person who really likes something hands-on and you have a lot more time on your hands and leniency, and you have the luxury to be able to do this, I recommend keep a small journal on you, like a very small one, like one that's like the size of your hand or smaller. And keep a really small pen as well that you can attach onto that journal, not one that's free floating that you'll get lost in your car or your bag or whatever. Something you can actually attach on there. And then that way it's small enough it can fit in your pocket. If you have pockets that are big enough for it, it just depends on the pants. Or in your purse or in your car, or like I said, messenger bag, whatever. Also, actually, if you have a small enough journal, sometimes you can keep it. If you have a tablet that has a carrying case on it, sometimes they have pockets and you can slip that little notepad in there. It might be like, well, why have that if I have a tablet? But some people prefer physically writing things. So if you prefer physically writing, think about that. The other recommendation I'll give is something called Milanote. This was something that I had started using in 2020. It was recommended to me, and it is really, really good. If you are a visual person and you like visually taking notes, this is going to be your medium for sure. I would say Milanote for me has been just fantastic for organizing my thoughts. I used to keep an actual physical board. It was like one of those big boards that folds up for projects that kids would buy for school, and then I would write up all of my plot lines and print them out, and then I was taping them to the board, and it was working for me to be able to see everything, but all like taping them and moving them around was kind of like damaging the plot lines. And then also, if I needed to edit the summaries on the plot lines, I couldn't really do that unless I had to print out a new one. So it worked for the time, but Milanote, I've actually recently moved all of that stuff over and digitized it onto Milanote, and that's been really, really nice, because then I can just pick up and move the cards or the boards or change the summaries around really easily. So I highly recommend that. I'm going to have a link for that down below if you want to check that out. The cons of having Milanote would be that you do only get about 100 cards to start, and you can get up to 200 if you use referrals. But after that, it kind of caps it, and then you either have to constantly be deleting or rearranging things in order to keep within the 200 note arrangement, or you can buy some of their services that they have. There's team packs, and then there's also individual ones, and that can get it just depends. If you have it in your budget and you really want to be able to just go all out and have unlimited notes, then that could work really well for you. But if you're cool with working with like a limited kind of space, like up to 200 notes, which it really is honestly quite a lot, I didn't realize how much it was before I started reaching my cap. But yeah, if you can work within that limited space, then it's a really great free program to use. Another thing you could use on your phone if you're just in a pinch and you're like, say like you're out and about, is Google Docs, because the nice thing about that is that you can write up the note on Google Docs and then it'll also be available on your computer. You don't have to worry about it being on like a specific app on your phone, which then you can only access on your phone. So that's something I've used for a while. The cons to that is that Google Docs links to Google Drive, and Google Drive can run out of space once again kind of easily. So I recommend, like every, I don't know, every 6 months to a year, just kind of doing like a clean out where you take all those documents and you download all of them and just make sure they're on your computer, and then that way you're kind of cleaning out your Google Docs and making room for more. Also, I recommend using a checklist app. I did this for a while. It was really good if I just wanted to make sure I was getting certain things done that were related to the notes I was taking. So if you want to make sure you're checking them off, that can be really good as opposed to just having a list. And then another one would be a diary app. This is something I've also tried recently if I want to write down a note really quick and Google Docs is running out of space or whatever. The only downside is it's only on my phone, so if I want to reference it, I'd have to kind of grab my phone and then relay that information over, put it onto Milanote or one of my other tools online. And then the last one would be your tablet. So if you have an iPad, or like for me, I have a Samsung Galaxy Tab A, or the 10. It's really good. It's a few years old, but it's a really fantastic tablet. That one has like note apps built into it that are really cool. And you can actually like write them out as well. So like when I was talking before about like keeping a small journal on you, if you want to be able to write things out, but you prefer to use your tablet, then the tablet has like the perfect medium for both of those, where you can actually just write out physical notes. So those would be my recommendations, to have things that are quick on the fly to keep you kind of ready in your armory for when those ideas come flying by. The best time of day I would recommend that you take notes would probably be first thing in the morning or right before bed. And I say this because this is the time of day in which you're like closest to you're on the rift, you're like you're bridging between the subconscious and the conscious. And the subconscious is where a lot of our creativity will flow from, but it'll typically flow and come out of us in ways that's hard to put into words. So that's why it feels very inspiring. Maybe you'll see a lot of images, but then like once your brain wakes up more and it comes into logic mode, it's like hard to translate it or even remember it. What I've been doing is like I've been like recalling my dreams first thing in the morning. I actually put my phone on do not disturb when I'm doing this. But if you get really good ideas first thing in the morning or right before bed, or even if it's in the middle of the night, just keep your phone next to you and just do a voice memo or type it up if your eyes can stand having the brightness of the phone that late at night or something like that, or even first thing in the morning. If you do have it happen where you get a really good idea that strikes you, like I said, while you're driving along, literally tell yourself, like thank it for the idea, and tell yourself, whether you have to say it verbally out loud or just say it in your mind, that you will be writing this down first thing the minute that you have a chance to stop or the minute that you get home, the minute you have, and make sure you prioritize it, because that's how you build that trust with yourself, and then your brain's more likely to keep bringing you more of those ideas. Let's see. Another thing would be good sources to gather information or ideas in order to take notes. So if you're doing, say, like a story that's based around something historical, then it can be really fun actually to take notes. This is a way you can do it manually. I've heard it before being said that action comes before motivation. People often think motivation needs to happen first before action, but it's the other way around. So this is a great way to motivate yourself, is by taking action on maybe inspiring yourself. This is sort of like self-induced note-taking, where you say like you really want to research a certain topic, a certain time period for your story. You can actually delve into things like that in order to get those ideas rolling. So like for me personally, when I work on ET Girl, I love to listen to this podcast called Mysterious Universe. I've been listening to it for at least 10 plus years because they always go into talking about really strange and bizarre events that happen. And that's really useful for writing ET Girl, because it's a sci-fi romance. It's got everything in it, extraterrestrials, it's got all kinds of supernatural sort of elements to it. I try to actually add in some of the story ideas or anecdotal pieces that I hear that are supposed to be based off of like true accounts and reportings of sightings from these cases. Like I try to add them in as little Easter eggs for ET Girl. And that makes it really fun because that tells me like, oh, like I'm leaving something there for like the super fans who are really into strange phenomenon and supernatural or UFO related phenomenon. So so that's a way that I kind of get the gears going. But I also talk to family or friends, but only if it's relevant, like in terms of like if I know that we have a shared interest in that, because it can be kind of it actually can be harder to take notes, and it can be kind of discouraging if you talk to friends and family like really excitedly about your story, but they don't really have any interest in perhaps whatever topic you're doing. So I would recommend only kind of going up to those who already are mutually interested, because then they could introduce you to things that maybe you hadn't thought of or heard of before, or give their own like knowledge or stories, or maybe book recommendations or things like that. The next thing would be definitely follow other storytellers or artists that you admire, in order to just even get inspiration on maybe how to take notes or like the areas you should be looking at. So like I like to read a lot of webcomics, and I'll use some of like I'll bookmark in my mind, or I'll even screenshot a page that I really like if they used a really good layout, and then I'll make a note of it to say, "Ooh, I really want to make sure when I'm doing a similar scene that I use those angles." Like recently I was looking at a comic where they were building the romantic tension between these two characters, and in order to show that the girl character was getting like into the uh, the other female character, they showed that the female character straight on, and then showed the other character kind of admiring her. So the straight on angle is sort of like the first person perspective. So that the idea is we're in the shoes of the character who's kind of falling for them. So we're kind of seeing what they see, like through their eyes. And I was like, ooh, yeah, that's a really good way. Like it was, I felt it. Like, I was using my feeling radar to see like if it was working on me, like what they were trying to do. And it did. It emotionally moved me where I was like, I wanted to see those characters get together. So to me, that's good storytelling. And I was making a mental note of it. So that's something else, is if you are, enjoying your own personal entertainment of an artist that inspires you or that you enjoy, and you feel moved by their content, make a mental note, like become really aware of when you're feeling the feels, whether that's, the story's moving you to the point of tears, or you just are getting really hyped and excited to see the characters, you really want them to kiss. Make a mental note right then and there. Just drop what you're doing, screenshot it, write it down, because that is a great example for you to be able to reference back when you're working on your own story to make sure you can build tension like that yourself. The next one would be definitely sourcing out things like history. If your story is based on something that is factual history, you could go back and look at periodical, or you can look at period pieces and things like that. Whether that's watching old movies, or reading old articles, old documentaries as well. Another fun one that you could do is immerse yourself in places that are also relevant to your inspiration. I can't really find many places that would be great for sci-fi phenomena, at least around here. Perhaps there is more than I know of in my area. But like for me personally, I get really inspired being able to sit in like a quiet library or my favorite bookstore. And that might not be quite relevant to the topic of my stories, but it's a place that helps bring about motivation. Because sometimes another thing too is like, in order for you to show your brain that you are committed to this thing and you want to take action, you kind of have to show it with action. So your brain, if it brings something to you, if you're going somewhere, like they always say, like it's important to separate your workspace from your sleeping space, right? They talk about this a lot for people who work from home. And so it's similar. If you're getting into comicking and you want to make sure you have a place that you use to inspire you for note taking, it might be something like going to your favorite comic shop or going to your favorite bookstore. I know it's hard with the pandemic right now, so if you can't find a place to be able to go that's out and about, you could also just go to your favorite park and just start making that mental connection where every time you go to that park, you're sitting down with your pen and paper or your sketchbook, and eventually you're going to start getting these good associations in your brain, and your brain will understand, oh, when I'm here, this is the time to be dropping all of the good ideas in order to take notes. So my last one is going to be just using books as resources as well. These can be audiobooks, they can be books that you take the time to actually sit down and read. I personally have purchased one in the past that was a UFO abduction stories book. So I can kind of go through, and they're like these little short anecdotal stories. So I can just pick a random one and read it. And then I can use the little details to kind of help make my story more, feel more accurate. Or I can just take notes about pieces that I like about it. So I don't have to even follow a plot line with the book. I can just pick a random story and just read one of those. So, yeah, this is my recommendations. If you guys have any of your own personal things that have helped you for note taking, I'm always interested in other good sources or materials or things like that that could be used for note taking. I would love to hear about it in the comments down below. So definitely drop me a comment about that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and are having a good 2022. And I will see you in the next one.